Hello everyone. Today we will see the examples on sampling methods. We know that the entire group of individuals which we are interested in study, which are concerned with our study, is what? Population. And for our study we take some part of this population, that is known as sample. Okay, why we choose sample over the population? Because population sometimes may be finite or may be infinite. So for infinite population, the study is impossible to study infinite population or impracticable to study, and sometimes population study require more time, more human power, and more cost also. It may be costly also. So because of these things, time, cost, and manpower, we choose sample study over population. And most of the times it is impracticable to study each and every element in the sample, in the population. It is impracticable to study the whole population, so we go for sample. So the study of population is known as census method. The study of population is known as census method, and the study of sample is known as sampling. Study of sample is known as sampling. Okay, so we choose some part of population to perform actual experiment on, or to study actually, so that part of population is our sample. Now what the sample we are selecting, it should be well representative of the population, because our main aim is what? To study or to get the results about the population using the sample. Okay, we want to predict something about this entire group of people or the entire group of study which we are interested in by using this sample. That means we want to infer something about the population using sample. So this procedure is what? Inference. We want to infer something about the population depending on the study of our sample. So that's why our sample should be good representative of our population. So for this we have some methods to draw sample elements from population, so that sample is a good representative of the population. That's why we have various sampling methods to study, to draw samples from the population. Okay, so we'll see MCQs now. Which of the following best describes a population in a study? So what is population? A subset of individuals selected from a larger group? No. The entire group of individuals or instances about whom the study is concerned. The study is concerned. Okay, the study is concerned entire group of individuals. These two words will tell us about the population. Study is concerned is different, and study is actually, we are doing actually study upon the elements. This is what? Sample elements. A group of subjects who receive the treatment in an experiment. The treatment in an experiment is what? Sample. The elements which are under treatment, that are sample elements and not the population element. So this is also Not correct. A group that does not receive any treatment in an experiment, no, this is also not correct. So the correct statement is what? The entire group of individuals or instances whom the study is concerned. Now, which of the following is a sample? So which is the sample? All patients in a hospital. If it is all, then it is not a sample. A group of 50 patients selected from a hospital. A group of 50 patients selected from a hospital. All residents of a city. This is again all. When the study is concerned with each and every element, all patients, all residents, all people, all students, then it is related with the population study and not the sample. If we are taking some parts, some patients, some residents, some students from that population, then it is known as sample. The entire medical staff of a hospital. This is again what? Entire medical staff. So this is again a population and not a sample. So a group of 50 patients may be the population, may be the sample drawn from the population of a particular hospital. So this is our correct answer. A group of 50 patients. Which statement is true regarding the relationship between a sample and a population? Sample and a population. A sample includes every member of the population. No, not every member. A population is always smaller than a sample. No, this is wrong. A sample is a part of a population. A part of a population. A population is selected from a sample. No. So sample is always a part of a population. A part means what? Any part, any randomly selected part of a population. What is sampling frame? So now what is sampling frame? The process used to select individuals from the population. The process, no. A list of all the elements in the population. The method by which the sample size is determined. The method by which the sample size is determined, no. The total number of individuals in the sample, no. The total number of individuals in the sample is what? Sample size. Sample size denoted by small n. So what is sampling frame? Sampling frame is a list of all the elements in the population. List of all the elements in the population that we are taking from that we are taking some elements for our sample study. So list of all the elements is what? Sampling frame. Which of the following is an example of population parameter? See now, what is population parameter? When any information about population is known to us, that information is known as parameter. And if any information about sample is known to us, that information is known as statistic. Okay, so if we have any information regarding our sample, that is what? Known as statistic. And the information regarding our population is known as parameter. Population parameter. So here options are the mean height of a sample of patients. Mean height of sample of patients. Sample of patients. It is related to what? Sample study. The height, mean height is given for about sample. So this is statistic and not the parameter. The proportion of smokers in a sample, this is also related with sample, so no. The average blood pressure of all patients in a clinic. We have seen above that if it is related with all patients, all elements, then it is what? Population. So the average blood pressure of all patients in a clinic is related with the population and it is population parameter, the information about the population. The median income of a sample, this is related with sample of household sampling method. Which of the following sampling method ensures every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected? Which of the following sampling methods? There are different sampling methods. Every member of population has an equal chance of being selected. In which sampling every member of the population gets an equal chance of being selected? In simple random sampling. In simple random sampling, each and every member of a population gets an equal chance of being selected, and that is nothing but 1 by n, if n is the number of population units. Now, which sampling method involves dividing the population into subgroups and then randomly selecting from each subgroup? Now, in which method of sampling we divide the population into subgroups? When we have heterogeneous population, what we do? We divide this population into subgroups. We divide population into subgroups and we choose the samples from those subgroups to represent our population well. It is a well representation of our heterogeneous population. So this method is what? It is stratified sampling method. These subgroups are called as strata. And this is what? Stratified sampling method. When we use this method, when our population is heterogeneous, we form the homogeneous groups and then we draw the sample from the subgroups. Then we have, in which sampling method are clusters selected randomly and then all individuals within the chosen clusters are sampled? Sampling method, clusters are selected randomly and then all individuals within that cluster are chosen for the sampling procedure or the study. So this is when it is related with the cluster, the entire group we are selected to study, then that is what? Cluster sampling. For example, suppose we have 200 medical institutions all over India and we want to study about the faculty in the medical institutions. Okay, so for this study, suppose we are about to choose only 10 institutions as a sample. So we choose the institution as it is, and that each institution is known as cluster. And the individuals are chosen from that each institute for the study. So this procedure is known as cluster sampling. Which method of sampling is most prone to bias? Simple random sampling, stratified sampling, convenience sampling and systematic sampling. Now we know that there are mainly two sampling methods. One is probability sampling and another is non-probability sampling. Probability sampling is also known as random sampling, because the selection of elements is what? Random selection of elements in probability sampling procedures. And in non-probability sampling procedures, there are various methods to choose a sample. So the non-probability sampling methods, being non-random, these are most prone to bias. And from our options, we can see that convenience sampling is what? Convenience sampling is non-probability sampling, so it is more prone to bias. The convenience sampling is the selection procedure of sample units according to the convenience of the researcher. So it is more prone to bias. Which is the main advantage of using stratified sampling over simple random sampling? Now, what is the use of stratified sampling over simple random sampling. We know that simple random sampling is what? Random selection of sample from the population. Random selection. And what may happen in simple random sampling? There may be chance that only one characteristic of population among the population is chosen as a sample. But when we have heterogeneous data set, then we go for stratified sampling method. Why? Because suppose our data is heterogeneous, we divide it into the homogeneous subgroups so that we can take the individuals from each subgroup as our sample, and which will be the good representative of the population. For example, let's say these are the patients with the blood group A positive, B positive and O. For example, let's say these are the patients with blood groups A plus, B plus and O, and we are studying the blood group of the population. It may be possible that in simple random sampling procedure, only people of A positive blood group get selected by simple random sampling procedure. So it may not represent the entire population. So for this reason, we go for stratified sampling, in which we make 3 homogeneous groups: A positive patients, B positive and O group patients, and we took samples from each of the groups so that our sample is representing our population in a well manner. So what are the options here? It is easier to implement, it reduces sampling bias, it ensures that all subgroups are represented. So our answer is that in stratified sampling ensures that each and every subgroup has represented. Now next, which of the following best describe systematic sampling? So what is systematic sampling? Systematic sampling is when we have a list of population elements. When we have a list of population elements, we go for systematic sampling. What we do in systematic sampling? Suppose n is what? Number of population units. Small n is number of sample units. Suppose we want to select n number of samples from the population n. Then we find k such that it is n divided by n. It is the ratio that n divided by n. What we do? We first we choose element randomly from first k elements. We choose any one of the element randomly, and then every kth element is get selected in a sample. For example, let's say we have population of 100 students and we want to select 10 students. Okay, so how to find k? K is equal to n by n. It is 100 by 10. So k is what? 10. So that means we are selecting, suppose we have roll numbers of our students. We are selecting first student randomly from first 10 roll numbers. Suppose I have selected third roll number student. And then every kth element is selected. Every third, and then k is what? K is 10. So every kth is what? 13th roll number will be selected. Then 23rd roll number will be selected. So on. Last member will be 93rd roll number. So this way we get sample size of 10 students automatically. And this is procedure of systematic sampling method. When we use systematic sampling, when we have population list in the form of list. So the question is, which of the following best describes systematic sampling? Selecting every kth individual from list after a random start. First element is chosen randomly from first k elements, and then every kth element is selected. Randomly selecting individuals based on stratified group? No. Selecting entire groups or clusters? No. This is about stratified sampling, this is about cluster sampling. Sampling based on convenience? No. This is about convenience sampling. So the first is the answer. In systematic sampling, we choose kth individual from a random start. Which sampling method is best suited for a study where the population is heterogeneous and you want to ensure representation of all groups? The population is heterogeneous, but you want to ensure that your sample is representing all the groups of the population. We know that when the population is heterogeneous, we form the groups, homogeneous groups, and we took samples from those groups, sample elements from those groups, so that it will represent the population. It is a good representation of population, and this method is nothing but stratified sampling method. When is cluster sampling most appropriate? When the population is too large and spread out geographically. This one is the answer for cluster sampling. When our population is spread out geographically and it is very large, we go for cluster sampling. Which sampling method is likely to produce the most reliable results in a population that is highly diverse? Highly diverse means what? The population is heterogeneous. Highly diverse means what? It is heterogeneous, and for such data we go for stratified sampling. What is the key advantage of convenience sampling? It is time consuming? No. It can lead to significant sampling bias. It is difficult to implement. What is disadvantage of convenience sampling? So we know that non-probability sampling, which is convenience sampling, is prone to bias. So it can lead to a significant sampling bias. Which type of sampling would be most appropriate when conducting a study on a rare disease? If we are conducting a study on a rare disease, okay, we have to go for snowball sampling. Snowball sampling is what? It is related to referencing. It is related to mouth publicity, we can say. One patient with that particular disease, or the people who know the patient with that disease will refer the patient to you. So we go for snowball sampling for the rare disease studies. Which of the following best defines sampling error? Sampling error is what now? Sampling error is the difference between the sample statistic and population parameter. So basically error is what? Error is the value when your sampling statistics, suppose sample mean, and we want to know whether our sample mean is representing our population mean or not. Okay, this is true or not true. If there is some difference between population parameter and sample statistic, the difference is known as error. Which of the following is true about non-probability sampling? Every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected? No. When equal chance of being selected is occur when the sampling is probability sampling. It can be used to make inferences about the population. It is often quicker and cheaper than probability sampling. It eliminates sampling bias. So it is quicker and cheaper than probability sampling. So we go for non-sampling methods usually. Which sampling method would be most appropriate for a pilot study with limited resources? Now we are about to do pilot study of our research and we have limited resources. When we have limited resources, we go for convenience sampling according to the convenience of the researcher. In which sampling method do participants recruit other participants? Participants recruit other participant. We have seen snowball sampling. Snowball is what? One participant is recruiting another participant. So it is like chain. This is what? Snowball sampling. The referencing we can say. Thank you.